As Roger mentioned, we're getting a lot of sequels and remakes from Hollywood these days because as the budgets of the films get bigger and bigger, Hollywood tries to play it safer and safer with proven material.
Well, that ought to do it.
In 1969, 20th Century Fox released the biggest movie of the year, a film about two outlaw gunslingers, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The movie would star two of the top actors of its day, Paul Newman and Robert Redford. With a $6 million film budget, the film would go on to gross over $100 million just in the U.S. alone. With this big success, 20th Century Fox without a doubt wanted a sequel, but the two main leads, the heroes of the film, the one that shared the name of the title, are both killed at the end of the film.
The characters played by Robert Redford and Paul Newman were killed at the end of that very popular film. But necessity to make money, that is truly the mother of invention, and movie makers have not let death stand in their way this time. They've discovered the prequel.
Fox thought of many ways to bring back Paul Newman and Robert Redford, but the two actors didn't want to return and felt a sequel would just cheapen the movie. Any plans to see more of the adventures of the heroes died out, and 20th Century Fox moved on, at least for a little while. As the original film was coming up on its 10th anniversary, 20th Century Fox was brainstorming a plan to recast the lead actors with younger actors playing the title role and calling it Butch and Sundance: The Early Days.
Even when they made it to the big time, it wasn't like the first time. Butch and Sundance, The Early Days.
The story would tell of two wannabe outlaws going around doing a series of robberies as Butch is being hunted down by a member of his former gang, O.C. Hank. Along the way, the two will form a closer bond, and in true prequel fashion, we learn how Sundance got his name.
Oh, come on, will you help out then? I need a little inspiration here. Haven't you ever done anything interesting in your life?
Well, I was in jail once.
Where? Sundance, Wyoming? Okay. Kid Sundance. Sundance Kid. Yeah, I like that.
For the two lead roles, Fox turned to Tom Berenger for the Paul Newman role of Sundance after the studio was impressed by his role in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. For Robert Redford's young Butch Cassidy role, they turned to an actor that was being called the young Robert Redford after his role in First Love, William Catt. Jeff Corey would be the only character from the original 1969 film to return and play the same role, Sheriff Bledsoe. Fox would get Richard Lasser to direct the film, who was just coming off directing The Three Musketeers and its sequel, Robin and Marian. Fox knew the prequel wouldn't reach the gross of its first film, but if it would only make half of what Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid did in 1969, they would still have a huge hit on their hands. So the movie was given a $9 million budget and set for a summer 1979 release. The movie tanked on release, making only $5 million in the US, losing about $4 million. A Fox executive would go on to say the film was a terrible movie, but overall the reviews were not as harsh on the film, but not really good either, with most film critics calling it okay. Kevin Thomas of the LA Times said it was a pleasure to look at. Variety said it had a storyline that moseyed along with little suspense or excitement. Most pointed out Fox's attempt to try to make a sequel to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid without its main stars. That would be like trying to replace the Beatles. Without Redford and Newman, there just wasn't much going for the film.
Well, to be honest, when I walked into the movie theater to see Butch and Sundance, I had sort of a show-me, chip-on-my-shoulder attitude. I wasn't going to be manipulated by the so-called prequel. But the film does have an undeniably fresh quality. The actors, Tom Berenger as the dark-haired Butch Cassidy and William Catt as the blonde Sundance, well, they're both pleasant enough. And the script has been well written in spots. I like Butch Sundance, The Early Days. It's not original, and I don't like that about it. But what is on the screen is entertaining most of the time. So sort of a guarded positive reaction to the film.
Okay, I'll be one of your guards. I kind of liked it, too. I mean, I like the locations. They shot in Montana the wintertime. They went down to the desert. Good sets. Pretty good director in Richard Lester. Good performances. I was just, yeah, sure, it's okay, yeah.
Fox did try to help promote the film with an action figure line. And for that, they reached out to the movie tie-in king at the time, Kenner, for a line of action figures based on the film. Kenner had big plans for the line and thought they could really make an impact on the toy market. The figures would come with a quick draw action to make them seem like cowboys ready for a showdown. Releasing the line was Butch Cassidy, Sundance, O.C. Hanks, Marshall LaForge, and Sheriff Bledsoe. 2 horses would also be released on a single card back, Bluff and Spurs. A figure 2-pack in a plain cardboard box was released exclusively through Montgomery Ward. Also released was a stagecoach called Mint Wagon. As the movie flopped at the box office, so did the toy line. However, Kenner had a lot of money and time put in the line and wasn't going to let the line die due to a failed movie. They would take their Series 2 plans and relaunch it as Kenner's The Real West action figure line. This line would be based on old Western heroes rather than just based on a film. For Series 2, they planned to add Billy the Kid, Geronimo, and Jesse James to the line. To give kids a playset for the line, Kenner would retool the Star Wars Cantina playset and turn it into the Real West Western Cafe. Sadly, before releasing the Real West action figure line, Kenner decided it was best just to cancel the line and move on. The Real West Western Cafe did make it to stores, but the rest of the line was canceled. The figures are really well done, and the playset is a nice addition to the line. The quick draw action would later be used for Kenner's Raiders of the Lost Ark line. Today, the figures in the line are pretty hard to find, running close to $100 to $200 on card, and $50 to $100 loose and complete. The real gem of this line is the Western Cafe. Due to its limited release and its ties with the Star Wars toy collector world, it can run in the upper hundreds, if you can find it at all, as it rarely comes up for sale. And when it does, it's mostly loose and incomplete. Finding one unopened in the box is almost impossible. Well, that's a look at this failed toy line from the movie Butch and Sundance, The Early Years. I want to thank you for watching. As always, thumb up so you like my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Butch and Sundance. The early days. You'll have the time of your life, just like they did.
We're gonna be famous.
Hey, Jumpman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.